Okay, so August 1982, Weber County, Utah. It's a summer month that really took a dark turn. We're talking about the unsolved murders of two young people.
Yeah, 14-year-old Gabriel Distefano and 21-year-old Joyce Tina Gallegos. And, decades later, their families, the whole community, they're still waiting for answers.
That silence must be deafening.
The weight of it.
It really is. We heard about Gabriel's uncle, Kristen Perkins, her cousin, said the lack of justice just ate him every day. It's that not knowing that's such a particular kind of pain.
Absolutely. These aren't just old files. Their lives cut short, families left wondering.
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to, get into today for you.
We're focusing in on Gabriel Distefano's case, specifically the places in Weber County connected to her story, and crucially, that link to Joyce Gallegos.
Right, the ballistics. That's the undeniable thread connecting these two young women.
So our goal here is really to piece together what we can from, the public records, the research that's out there. And we should say up front, it's tough. These cases are over 40 years old now.
Yeah, the challenges are huge. Forensic science has obviously come a long, long way.
But the early evidence, it might not all be there. There's talk of potential loss, maybe a flood, maybe things just discarded before they knew how valuable they could be later.
So you end up relying a lot on, human memory, which is tricky.
Very tricky after 4 decades. Okay, so let's set the scene. Weber County, August 1982. What was it like?
Right. What was the vibe back then?
Well, it was definitely a county experiencing growth. A lot of that was driven by the military presence,
Wow.
Defense Depot, Ogden, Hill Air Force Base, big employers.
Okay.
And you had Weber State College, the IRS Center, manufacturing, aerospace. So economically, things were happening.
And the towns themselves were changing too.
Yeah, exactly. Far West City was pretty new then, putting in water systems, building their first city hall that actually opened later that year, November 82. And Harrisville, which is unfortunately key to this story, they were doing things like church additions, park development. So, life was moving forward, normal community development.
Right. Against this backdrop of normal life, these terrible events unfold.
Mm-hmm.
Let's map out that timeline again, just to be clear.
Okay, August 11th in 1982. That's when Joyce Gallegos, Tina, she's last seen at that bus stop, 25th and Washington in Ogden.
Okay, August 11th, then just 4 days later.
August 15th. Gabriel Distefano, just 14, is last seen at a party over in Riverdale.
Then a week later, August 22nd.
Joyce Gallegos' body is found.
Yeah.
In the Ogden River, in Ogden itself.
And then it's almost another month before Gabriel is found.
Yeah, September 16th. That's when they find Gabriel's body in a ditch near a construction site up in Harrisville. It's a really rapid sequence of events in August. Then that gap before Gabriel is found.
Deeply disturbing. Let's start with Joyce.
Yeah.
August 11th, that bus stop, 25th in Washington.
Okay.
Why is that location significant?
Well, 25th in Washington, that's like a major crossroads in Ogden. Historically important, lots of businesses.
Right.
But what really stands out is how close her disappearance on the 11th is to Gabriel's on the 15th. Only 4 days apart.
And given the ballistics link we know about now.
Exactly. It suggests maybe a period of, heightened activity, maybe even brazenness from the killer. Like they felt they could get away with it.
That's chilling. And the location itself, a public bus stop.
Yeah.
What does that tell us? Or what could it tell us?
It raises questions, doesn't it? Was it like an opportunistic crime? Someone just saw a chance? Or was it planned? Maybe a meeting gone wrong? A bus stop feels public, visible, but it could also be a place where someone's briefly vulnerable, waiting. It's interesting compared to Gabriel being at a party, more private setting, different dynamics.
Right. Okay, let's turn to Gabriel then. August 15th, the party in Riverdale. She just turned 14, literally days before, August 5th. What do we actually know about this party? It feels like a real black hole in the story.
It really is. The information is just minimal. We don't know what kind of party it was, Casual, big, small, who hosted it, who else was there.
And crucially, how did she leave? Who did she leave with? Or did she leave alone?
Exactly. Those details are completely missing. And that's a massive gap for investigators. What was the mood? Could someone slip away easily? Were there people there who, shouldn't have been?
And Riverdale itself back then. What was the town like? Does that offer any clues?
Riverdale had this nickname, Stringtown. It kind of grew along the main road and the river. It had farming roots, but was also getting more businesses.
Okay.
For Gabriel, Riverdale is where her final journey began. The layout kind of stretched out might mean there were accessible parts, but also more hidden, secluded areas nearby.
So knowing where exactly that party was could be vital.
Oh, absolutely. If they could pinpoint that location, it might give some context. Was it near a busy road, near the river, isolated? We just don't know.
Then, September 16th, the discovery in Harrisville, her body found in a ditch near a construction site. Just awful. What about Harrisville?
Harrisville in 82 was smaller, population just over 1,300 people, according to the 1980 census. A pretty tight-knit place, it seems.
And like you said, some development happening.
Yeah, church expansions, park work. The construction site detail is really significant, though.
Why specifically?
While construction sites often mean disturbed ground, maybe less foot traffic, especially after hours, it feels like a deliberate choice. Somewhere to conceal a body, somewhere it wouldn't be found right away. It suggests, calculation.
And the way her body was found. Wrapped. That's also key, isn't it? Plastic, a towel, shower curtain.
Yes. These items, they could have been gold mines of forensic evidence, especially that towel.
Tell us about the towel.
It was described as white, and crucially, it had apartment 15 on one corner. Now, we don't know if that was embroidered or just written on with a marker. No known photos of it, sadly.
And the shower curtain.
That was apparently a very light yellow, almost cream maybe, with some light green markings near the bottom. There is supposedly a photo of that one, which has been used in appeals.
But both items are gone now.
Yeah, tragically lost. The theories vary, maybe just discarded years ago before DNA was really a thing, or potentially destroyed in a flood that reportedly happened at the Harrisville Police Department. Either way.
It's a catastrophic blow to the investigation today.
It really is. Think about it. Fibers, hairs, maybe DNA, even fingerprints potentially, lost. Wrapping the body like that, it could have been about controlling evidence, slowing decomposition, or maybe even something more personal for the killer. We don't know.
And that apartment 15, it's so specific.
It's incredibly tantalizing. Does it mean an apartment building, a motel, someone's actual home? But without the towel itself, tracing that lead now depends entirely on someone remembering something from 40 years ago.
It just highlights the challenge of cold cases, evidence preservation.
Exactly. Lost opportunities that modern science just can't get back.
Okay, let's circle back to Joyce Gallegos. Found August 22nd, Ogden River. Cause of death. 2 gunshot wounds to the head. You mentioned a large caliber gun.
Yeah, that was reported by Detective Mike Wells at the time. Large caliber. Her body was found by a fisherman, actually, on a sandbar in the river.
The Ogden River.
Yeah.
It's a major river, right? Flows into the Great Salt Lake.
That's right. Drains the Ogden Valley, goes through the canyon, out towards the lake. Finding her on a sandbar, not fully submerged, might have helped preserve some evidence compared to being washed downstream in the main current.
In comparing how she was found versus Gabriel, it's quite different. River versus a ditch near construction.
It is. It raises questions. Different planning, different opportunities,
Yeah.
or maybe even different people involved, although the ballistics argue against that. Or perhaps just one killer adapting, using what was available or convenient at the time. Investigators have to consider all those possibilities.
And her last known location, 25th and Washington. You described it as historic, busy, but maybe a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah, historic 25th Street, it had that connection to the railroad, Union Station, lots of hotels, restaurants, but it also had this reputation, 2-Bit Street, linked to, let's say, less legal activities.
So a vibrant place, but potentially risky too.
Definitely. It creates an environment where someone might be more vulnerable, easier to approach, perhaps, especially if they seemed unsure or were waiting alone. It's a very different feel from suburban Riverdale or developing Harrisville.
Now, there was an arrest early on in Joyce's case, wasn't there? Robert Aragon.
Yes, that's right. He was arrested down in California, charged with second-degree murder. There was some talk of an alleged confession to an undercover officer.
But that fell apart.
It did. He had a solid alibi. Turns out he was actually in California when Joyce was killed, so the charges were dropped later that year, around November '82.
That must have complicated things. Used up resources, public focus.
Oh, for sure. It's a classic example of how an early lead, even one pursued in good faith, can divert attention and time away from potentially finding the real person responsible. You have to check everything, but it can definitely be a setback.
So putting it all together, 2 murders, close in time, same county, and the absolute linchpin is that ballistics match.
Absolutely. That discovery matching the bullets from both victims, that's the single most critical piece of evidence linking these crimes. It proves it wasn't just 2 random, terrible events. It was the same gun, strongly pointing to the same killer.
A huge breakthrough, especially back then.
Immense. It completely changes how you investigate. You're not looking for two separate perpetrators anymore. You're looking for one person responsible for both.
And in recent years, the investigator really pushing this forward publicly is Steve Haney from the Weber County Attorney's Office. He picked up the case about 10 years ago, right? Around 2013.
Yeah, that's about right. And his focus, as we've discussed, is so heavily on those lost items, the towel and the shower curtain.
He has that quote, right? Like a sweater that has a thread.
Exactly. He really believes that finding the origin of that towel or that shower curtain could unravel the whole thing. His approach seems to be about looking at everything fresh, re-interviewing people, because, as he puts it, what we've been doing for 40 years hasn't worked.
He seems convinced those mundane items have a very specific source someone might recall.
He does, especially that apartment 15 detail. It's not generic, it points somewhere specific. He's banking on someone remembering that detail, connecting it to a place or a person.
But the challenges remain massive. Losing the physical evidence is huge.
It's a major roadblock for modern forensics, yeah. No DNA, no trace analysis on those specific items.
And just the time that's passed. Memories phase, people move away, people pass away.
40-plus years is an incredibly long time in an investigation. Witnesses get older, their recollections might blur, and that initial focus on Aragon in the Gallegos case might have meant other leads weren't pursued as strongly back then.
Still, they keep appealing to the public. You see the contact info out there. Investigator Haney, the sheriff's office, the state cold case hotline.
Right, it shows they haven't given up hope. They believe someone out there still knows something. It's interesting, too, the sheriff's office apparently made a strong public statement about the link back in 2018, even though the ballistics match was likely known internally much earlier.
Why do that, then?
Maybe a strategic move. To jog memories again, put it back in the public eye, emphasize the connection, hope it prompts someone to finally come forward. It shows a continued commitment across agencies.
Looking back at the map, essentially. Riverdale, where Gabriel vanished. Harrisville, where she was found. Ogden, where Joyce was last seen and later discovered. These places are all tied together by these events.
Inextricably linked.
Yeah.
Each location holds a question mark. What really happened at that party in Riverdale? What specific construction project was happening in Harrisville? Could knowing that help? Why the Ogden River for Joyce? Was the 25th Street intersection just random chance?
And like you said, they're all close, within Weber County.
Yeah, the geography screams local knowledge. It seems much less likely this was someone just passing through who didn't know the area. The killer probably lived there, worked there, or at least spent significant time in Weber County back in 1982.
The impact on the families just doesn't fade, does it? Hearing about Gabriel's uncle, Kristen Perkins, making that promise to him, it's powerful.
It really is. That family persistence is often what keeps these cases alive. They become the voice for the victims, pushing for answers when leads run cold. Their advocacy is crucial.
And it looks back to Investigator Haney's belief that even the smallest detail could matter. That white towel, apartment 15, the light yellow shower curtain with green markings.
Yeah, he's essentially saying, don't dismiss anything you might remember. And this is where, you listening might actually play a role.
How so?
Well, think back. Weber County, early 1980s. Does apartment 15 ring any bells? Maybe a place you lived, a place a friend lived, a motel nearby. Or that specific shower curtain, light yellow, light green marks. It sounds distinctive.
Maybe something you saw at someone's house, or even for sale somewhere.
Exactly. It seems trivial, maybe, but as investigator Haney suggests, it could be that one tiny thread that finally leads somewhere after all this time.
Okay, so let's make sure everyone has that contact info again. If anything, absolutely anything, sparks a memory related to this case, Gabriel Distefano or Joyce Gallegos,
please reach out. You can call investigator Steve Haney directly. His number is 801-399-8618. Or email him, shaney@webercountyutah.gov. That's SHANEY at webercountyutah.gov.
You can also contact the Weber County Sheriff's Office. Their numbers are 801-778-6600 or 801-395-8221.
And there's the statewide Utah Unsolved Homicide Cold Case Tip Hotline. That number is toll-free, 833-377-7233.
Any detail could be the one they need.
Absolutely. These cases, the deaths of Gabriel and Joyce, they're just a stark reminder of the lasting damage of violent crime. And the work to solve them shows how hard cold cases are. But it also shows, the hope that persists. Hope within the police, the community, and especially the families that truth and justice are still possible.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How fragments of memory, things we might think are insignificant, could hold the key to unlocking such profound mysteries.